Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. Brother James, as you can see, a higher frequency. We're back one more time. And today I have a special treat for us all. And of course, I'm feeling really good because it's another one of our Reiki students here at House of Healing Light that has branched off into many different things and different aspects of healing. But today, she's with us to talk about her healing journey that she has been on. So she's a Reiki practitioner, she's an herbalist, she calls herself and considers herself a scientist. And I don't disagree with it. And as you can see in the background, the proof is in the pudding. You already see what she does because you can see it in the background. And so we're honored to have Sister Myra with us today. How do we say your last name again? Um,
Netjer KaBa Godd-is, actually.
oh, well, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at that at all. So she is with us today, and we're going to have a good time because we're going to get a lot of high frequency information as she helps us to understand how she went through her journey of healing. But first, since some of my audience may not know you, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So, well, first of all, greetings, everyone. I'm honored to be here. Gratitude for having me, Brother James. Um,
Yes, ma'am.
my journey started very, very early, actually.
Mm.
Um, when I was young, I went through life like everybody else, and things started happening, but it led me on. Obviously, everything led me to become more aware of my spiritual journey. And not only that, things happened to where as though I became more aware of my interest and I guess my, what do you call it, purpose
Mm-hmm.
in medicine and healing. So, um, but early on, I have children. I had three actually, and things have happened. My oldest daughter had asthma. My youngest daughter had eczema. I actually cured all of that in
Mm.
them.
Okay.
So when that happened, I took it beyond food, right? Food is a major proponent, but I got into medicine. I got into, I started learning about the spiritual aspects of things, and that is how, I got into the herbalism. And I am now, gratitude to Brother James again, a Reiki practitioner, a proud Reiki practitioner.
Yeah.
Um, and I am also a scientist, of course, because I do a lot of research,
That's for
right?
sure.
Um, I leave no question goes unturned. No, I gotta find the answer, right? I'm just one of those people. So that has led me to a full life of knowledge, and I love using that knowledge. Um, I am a metaphysician as well. What is a metaphysician? A metaphysician is a person who goes beyond, the physical, right? Reiki, we're talking about, using the sun, using the earth, using everything to heal, not just one thing in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's me. I I I mean, It's a little, I'm also a teacher. I am also a natural teacher. I do consultations. They are physical and spiritual consultations. So that's actually one of the things that sets me apart, right? Um, I can be on the phone and they tell me what they have or what they think they have. And there have been many, many times where I'm like, you sure about that? And they
Mm.
go back and they get a blood test or a culture test, and things are a little different. And a lot of times this is, spirit giving me the information. So I'm also to tell some, in the spiritual aspect of the consultations, um, there have been times where people's hair speaks to me, people's loved ones that have transitioned speak to me. There have been times, there's some things that I see, right? Because a lot of times I see beyond the physical. I can literally read your organs, the frequency of your organs sometimes, or it'll be radiating or a certain color or just, speaking to me. And I'm just able to, go beyond the physical, like I said. So I do physical and spiritual health consultations.
Okay. Wow. Well, we ain't mad at you. Bring it on. Because we need all of that and then some. I wish a lot of us had as much of a variety of ways to be able to help each other to heal. But
Mm,
speaking of that, now you spoke of helping to heal your children, but let's get
mm.
into your journey and
Okay.
what happened and what you learned from it. So if you don't mind, please tell us what your healing journey was.
Whew. Where do I begin? Uh, Going back, if you're talking about the most recent, um, so I'm gonna try to make this long story short. I was in my last house and there was mold.
Mm,
And me and the children, we started getting more and more sick, and all of a sudden I started getting gallstone attacks. Everything was happening. My son, I thought he had I'm sorry, eczema. Son found out it was that. My youngest daughter, she was getting UTIs. She was getting what was it? It looked like hangnail, but she was getting infections underneath of her nails, little
uh-oh.
fungal infection. Yeah, it was a lot going on.
Hmm.
Anyway, I started getting this persistent lung infection, right? It was causing me breathing problems. A lot was going on when I got into this house. I had a gallstone attack and I strained and it completely shut down my computer of my body.
Oh,
And
wow.
I like when I say shut down, I'm talking about the nervous system. And everything that the nervous system touched, it went out like a computer, just black screen. You know what I mean? Like my
Wow.
liver was cirrhosing, my kidneys, I was having heart palpitation, my heart was giving out on me. You name it, my spleen, my pancreas, everything. My colon had completely stopped. My colon completely stopped. It just was like, nope, everything. So even my throat, like I was having I remember like especially in the beginning of this, I would try to lay down, and I don't say sleep, I say charge. So
Hmm.
I would try to lay down and charge, and all of a sudden it's as soon as I got into a certain, what was it, theta or ram or REM, my body would jolt. It would jolt me like a hot wire or something. I would be back up. Like
Wow.
I barely got any charge. It was rough. It was rough.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds very rough. That's a lot going on at
Yeah.
one time. So
Mhm.
obviously everybody's going to want to know, well, how did you remedy it? What was the process to that you took yourself through to come back from all that?
Yeah. So first of all, luckily for me, I'm a scientist. That's first of all. It took a lot of um I started out with herbs. I'm like, okay, there's a herb for this. There's a herb for that. There's a herb for everything, right?
Right.
But then I got into the part where herbs were not taking care of everything.
Mm,
And I started to think there's something deeper. But remember, speaking to myself, that nothing happens by chance. So if there's something deeper, then, obviously either one, spirit really wants to get your attention, or you're supposed to help somebody else do this. So we have to get like through every single one and zero of it, right? The whole gist of it.
right.
So um through this, I mean, when I tell you I've been to the hospital more than most people in their life put together. Okay. And like a 2 year streak. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. So oh, not only that, my blood started clotting. My platelets were bursting, and they were bursting faster than they could reproduce.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So that was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. So I started with my heart. I started
Okay.
with my heart because I remember thinking, okay, I mean, if I'm gonna go, it's got to be my heart first, right? My liver was cirrhosis, but it was taking a long time. Not that I was looking forward to it or anything, but it was just over time. And not only that, because I was having the gallstone attacks, I was constantly in the hospital getting these drugs, this morphine. These things were breaking my body down even more. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? What can I learn? Where do I start? And I just remember thinking, okay, I'm in the hospital doing this because, and I learned that um, what just one of the reasons why I was having these gallstone attacks is because I was very magnesium deficient.
Hmm.
And so I was, I started getting my magnesium back up. When I started learning about, the more I learned about magnesium, I went on to learn about the other minerals. I
Right.
guess in that way you could call me a chemist.
Oh Lord, she done added something else to the list. Now she a chemist too. Okay.
Because and one of the reasons I say that, though, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. One of the
Hmm.
reasons why I say that is because a true herbalist knows that there are things that make up the body, right? One of
Right.
these things are minerals. A true herbalist also knows that the same exact things make up plants, right? And so when you're distributing plants or suggesting plants or giving plants to someone, you know what makes up this plant and what in this plant, not the plant itself, but what's in the plant that's going to help with this person's illness or
Hmm.
problem, right? So I learned about different, minerals, and I learned that, well, one of the reasons that I was already, before all this happened, I was already deficient in a couple of things, vitamin D, magnesium, things like that. You know what I mean? So that just added to the problems, right? So I had to start there. And when I say, I'm talking about at the cellular level, not just of the issues, but of my body. I had to start speaking to my body. The beautiful thing about this was that I was already doing Qigong,
Hmm.
and spirit was speaking to me, and spirit was like, listen, get out there. The reason why I started doing Qigong was because through all of this, right, through everything I was going through, I was not sweating. I could not sweat. That's how
Wow.
damaged my nerves were. Like,
Wow.
even in the sun, I could not sweat. Like, I was outside. I remember, man, it was like 95-degree days, and I would just feel some type of pressure where something was trying to break through my skin, but I would not sweat. You know what I mean? So I had to start speaking to my organs. I had to start telling them what was going on. I had to start communing with them, not just speaking to them, getting their energy. They were in me, but I had to, get the, get get information from them, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What they needed, why they were shutting down, right? How they felt. Just because our organs are inside of us doesn't mean they belong to us. And that's another thing I had to realize. So, you know, I started speaking to my organs every day. Gratitude, gratitude for being here. I love you. I am so grateful for you. You beat a million times a day, and that's something that I took for granted. You know what I mean? At any point, that organ can give out on us.
Right.
That it is its choice, right?
Right.
But again, it incarnated with us. So, but these are things that we have to do with every organ, not just the heart, not just the liver or the main organs, our cells, the water that goes into our body, gratitude when it leaves our body, gratitude, and this is a lot of what we take for granted. And so when I started doing this, I started noticing the relationship with my organs, they were becoming healthier. And as a result, I was becoming healthier. So it wasn't, but it was also the company of the herbs,
Right.
right? I started drinking more liquids instead of eating, right? My colon had let me know, which I wasn't listening to it. My colon let me know a long time ago that because I was constipated, right? I wasn't detoxing properly. I wasn't taking care of myself properly. You know, learning that our colon and our bladder are not the only ways that we detox through our skin, we detox through our eyes. There are so many ways for the body to detox, and I was just taking all of that for granted. you know Eating what I wanted every night, even though I was like eating good, it wasn't all the time. I was speaking down on myself sometimes, I was speaking down on others sometimes. That's not healthy for the self you know and so I had to retrain myself in all of this. I had to go out and start getting more sun, like every day. I started doing qigong and yoga, and just showing gratitude to the sun, lifting my hands up, because there are nerve endings at our feet and our hands. The
Mm-hmm.
most nerve endings in our body are on our feet and our hands. So I had to start, lifting my hands up to the sun. I had to start putting my feet up to the sun. You know, Also, I had to completely change the music I was listening to. The frequencies, I realized that, there would be songs that I would listen to. And it wasn't just the songs, it was like the people I was around. I stopped. It was family that I knew I had to stop being around. It wasn't healthy for me. Mind you, everything is frequency. So if I'm talking to myself, I didn't want to be around anybody who talked down on their self or down to me. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to be around anybody who didn't honor my presence. So all of that had to change, and that had to do with my company, that had to do with the music, that had to do with the movies and the YouTube. Everything had to change. Everything. And the more this happened, the more I realized, I'm like, hold on. All this was spiritual. This wasn't a dis-ease. This it was meant to happen. And things like this will happen in order for spirit to get, or God to get our attention. You know what I mean? The more we ignore things, I used to tell my 15-year-old daughter when she used to try to sneak out, or no, try to sneak and talk to this boy when she was like 15 years old. And I told her, I remember one day I caught her with the phone, and I told her, I said, listen, first of all, you don't know your mother. I'm always going to find out. However, this is the way it happens. I said, this means that you're not supposed to speak to this little boy. If something happens and spirit is continually giving you signs that contradict the health or well-being of this entire situation, right? Or the green light of this situation, that is spirit telling you, hey, no, I'm giving you a sign. I'm giving you a message. No, don't do that. Don't go there, whatever. Because at the end of the day, when you ignore this, when we all ignore this, it's like swimming against the current, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Bigger things will happen. That's when you see the car accidents. That's when you driving and you see a whole entire tree slumped over in the road, you know, and you like, how am I get that now? Duh, turn around. So,
Well,
so
one of the interesting things, you mentioned it earlier. Um, you was talking about speaking to the self.
mm-hmm,
And in most of my classes, like the Awakening the DNA
mm-hmm,
and other classes, I make it a point to have us atone with whatever energy we're working with.
mm-hmm,
Because I let the people in the class know, the students know, you're doing this because we have wronged our energy and all kinds of things. So we need to atone. And I use the Ho'oponopono, and we say, I love you.
Ho'oponopono.
Say it again.
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way you pronounce it.
Because you know how it is. You get it, somebody else gives you, even a teacher sometimes one has one way of saying it and the other has another way of saying it. But anyway,
Sure.
but the gist of the situation is, I love you. Please forgive me. I'm
Mm-hmm,
sorry. Thank you. And you give as much gratitude with it as you're saying it. And most of the times you will feel whatever energy we're working with or that we're atoning with, it'll actually grow. It'll get stronger as you're saying it. And so I'm just saying that to say that I definitely go along with what you're saying. We do need to have a better understanding of connecting with self. I also teach it when even when I teach my Reiki students that you need to communicate with the energy. We take for granted that we just use it for healing. No, if it works, if
mm-hmm,
it's a life force and it works on all levels, then you can use it for specific things. You could use it to gain knowledge. It's an energy. And if it's a life force, who knows what it can teach you, but you have to take the time to talk with it. So I'm glad that you're saying what you're saying because that is something that all of us really do need to learn and understand. When we say know yourself, like my know yourself classes, it's about
mm-hmm,
understanding your energy, beginning to feel it, beginning to work with it, beginning to understand the different characteristics of it. Like, is it heavy? Is it light? Is it staticky? Is it real smooth? You know what I mean? Because we have to truly learn ourselves in order to best work with ourselves. And I
mm-hmm,
also like the fact that you said that it's not our energy. You are absolutely right. We didn't create it. We're just blessed to be able to use it. So we must reverence it. It is sacred. And it's because we don't see it that way that, like you said, we were totally, man, I'm a smoke, drink, do whatever, and whatever, even though I know this goes against my body, I'm gonna do it anyway. That's
mm-hmm,
showing disrespect for the energy that's keeping you alive. So I'm very glad that you got to that, and that's why I had to make sure that I chimed in a little bit
mm-hmm,
because that is something that is especially necessary right now because of the fact that we have all these things going on in our health, and you also are pointing out the fact that it's a spectrum.
mm-hmm.
It's not just herbs is going to get rid of everything. You got to put the combinations together. You got to get your, as you know, I like to call it, you got to put your team together. You got to get your team. You got to get your tribe
Absolutely.
real quick so that you can heal yourself on all the different areas. Because sometimes it may really be more so the herb, more so than the energy, and vice versa. But sometimes you're gonna have to be like, uh, 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 uh. It's gonna be about 4 or 5 different things you're gonna have to throw in there
Mm-hmm.
to get yourself back to
Yeah.
a point that you even can work on getting better. And
Mm-hmm.
for what you, oh my God, man, for what you saying, whoo, Lord have mercy, you made it through all that.
Listen, I was down to 90 pounds. I was down to 90 pounds. I hadn't been 90 pounds since I was like 9, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
what take us through some more now. Now, so you accumulated knowledge, and now you're
Hmm.
working with the frequencies, you're working with the herbalism as well.
Hmm.
Was there anything else? Was there another process or method that you use to finally get back to yourself?
Well, I remember I just had these urges, and I know that that was spirit letting me know that I had more work to do. This was a sit down for me.
Mm,
All my life, I was always on the go. I was like not sitting still for nothing. I had ambition, I had drive. I didn't want to do one thing. I've always been what you call a jack of all trades. So I was just always, helping somebody, doing something. I'm like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. But what I learned was that I wasn't doing shadow work consistently enough, first of all.
hmm.
I
Right.
was not doing it consistently enough.
Hmm.
Um, I think the most consistent I had been was about 30 days prior to that, 30 days straight prior to that. I was doing shadow work, but it was like one day here and then, one day a couple days later, and then one day a couple weeks later, and then, I tried to do it 2 days in a row, sometimes 5 days in a row, but I was never good with commitment in the first place, to be honest.
Mm, okay.
So, I had to sit down with myself. I had to start sitting still. And, but, I also learned there were so many beautiful lessons that came out of this as well. One being the most overlooked process organ thing in our body is the nervous system.
Hmm.
One of the reasons why we overlook this is because um we're not taught about this.
Right.
They speak about when we get told our body parts, even in school, we get told all the organs, they do not count the nervous system. They'll tell you about it. They'll brief you on it. But once they tell you about it, oh, the spine, they go back to the skeleton. They go back to the liver. They go back to the pancreas. You know what I mean? Like you barely hear about the nervous system, right? And
Hmm.
so even at the doctor's office, they tell you, oh, you transitioned from a heart attack. Well, what was touching the heart and why did it really stop? It wasn't the heart that stopped. The heart would never stop on you. It was the nervous system that shut down. And when the nerves are overstimulated, that's when a lot of people get heart attacks because
Mm,
the nerve is touching the heart. Even your liver. A lot of people's liver becomes sluggish. Why? Because that nerve is no longer sparking. It's no longer sending signals. So these are things they don't tell us. They tell us, "Oh, treat the liver. Get the liver. Get the liver." And so we treat our liver and then, a couple years later, your cancer is back. Yeah, so the nervous system is the most overlooked. And I'll tell you another thing. The Bible, one of the esoteric, a lot of people that the Bible is about astrology, which it is. But the bigger aspect of the Bible is actually the 12 cranial nerves. That's actually one of the esoterics. A lot of people don't know that. That's one of the esoterics of the 12 disciples. So they are very important, very important.
hmm.
So it's what drives, it's what moves, it's what sends signals, it's what, makes plans for the body and carries them out. And it's also that bridge between the physical and the spiritual world for us.
Hmm.
It is very important. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
so I did more of another thing was I had to learn to laugh again. I had to, I was so into like business and just looking at people like, just so serious. I was very serious about everything and I forgot to smile.
Hmm.
And so like I said, there were so many beautiful lessons that came out of this, and that's just one of the things I'm just grateful for this whole ordeal. Also, I noticed that one of those what did you call it? What was the word you used? Atonements.
Right.
One of the atonements that I had through, and I know it carried me through, but it happened during Reiki class, right, with
Hmm.
you, was my mother. My mother transitioned, but I was still on a healing journey with her,
Right.
healing myself from her, healing myself with her, healing myself for her. You know what I mean? And it was just all of that. And it was a lot of atonements that I had to make through and through, before, during, and after. So yeah, that was one of the things. And that was huge for me, because I mean, you never stop healing, obviously.
Right. Right.
That
Right.
was, I think that was that has been a huge part of my healing journey.
And you know what? It really should be a major part of all of our healing journeys because atonement is real. We think that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of us have been trained to think that saying you sorry is a bad thing, man. You don't never say you sorry, you know what I mean? You man up. Nah, nah, yeah, I'm manning up by saying, yo, look, man, my bad. Sister, I shouldn't have treated you like that. My bad. That's that atonement, like you said, can help reset the system, reset the frequencies, and get us moving where we're supposed to be going.
Mm-hmm.
But because, like you said, like as you're saying, so many of us neglect that part. A part that you said atoning for your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, bearing witness to those ties and bonds of energy. You got to get it right. Like from taking the Kundalini Reiki class, the karmic band is real. You got to cleanse it. You got to get rid of this stuff and get it off of you because it will ill affect you as time goes on. It'll seep into spaces and then start coming out and get to the point that you start doing stuff and you don't even know why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why I yelled at her like that. I know I shouldn't have yelled at her like that. Why did I do that? Stuff is seeping in because you didn't take care and atone with these negative things. Um, even if your mom or dad was absent, wasn't the best, that still was the vessel that brought you here. So you got to give that at least that amount of respect to the situation, but atone with it. Get that burden off of you because if you hold it as you alluding to, it's going to build up in you. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to affect them, it's affecting you because you're holding on to it. It's like, come on everybody, let's atone with each other as well as ourselves because we've definitely done a lot wrong to ourselves, and we really need to atone with ourselves and let ourselves, I don't want to say off the hook, but just come to grips with it and be like, okay, as the scripture says, when I was a child, I did as a child, but I'm an adult now, so I got to let that go. And I got to forgive myself. Some stuff I did wrong, but in some cases, I felt like I ain't had no choice. But you still, because as long as it's in here, it's going to affect you. Like you said, that nervous system is going to get affected some kind of way if you don't atone. I didn't mean to, talk real long on that, but it's so important, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's very important. Because taking all the herbs in the world, using Reiki and everything else, these things help, but
Mm-hmm.
without that atonement, blockage is going to come up. Your energy never reaches its peak, and it never fully cleanses out until we release all that stuff and like, okay, no, I'm sorry. I'll do whatever I can do to correct my mistakes. And then life just gets better because you get back on that regular frequency and your energy can just flow and now you can flow with it. I didn't mean to be long-winded on that, people,
No,
but I felt like
listen.
I really needed us to understand, and God let me know because he kept giving me chills as soon as you
I
said it.
felt it too.
As soon as you said it, a chill shot through my body. And those of you who know me, you know that I say that's when I know God's talking to me. If I get cold out of nowhere, then I know that's him saying, "Look at that. That's me. Pay attention. I need you to
Mhm,
do something with that." So I had to make sure, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because most of us take that for granted. We just keep
mhm,
rolling. We don't want to think about it. We just keep doing what we do and then tell ourselves, I'm just being me.
mhm,
No, you're not. You haven't even really learned you yet because you haven't taken the time to
mhm.
figure yourself out yet. You know what I mean? But oh man, your
You
journey
just
is
built a
crazy.
whole mansion with all the nails you just hit on the head, okay? Like, I just can't say enough. Oh my gosh. That is the healing part. This is what people don't understand. This is the reason why I believe shadow work is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start writing, right, that is grounding. Now you're
Mm,
centering, you're grounding yourself, right? But when you get into it, when you're authentic with yourself, when you're really sitting down analyzing this situation, when you're really writing down, like without thought, sometimes spirit will take over and just start writing, and things will come up,
yes.
from that you suppressed or think you suppressed, and it'll just come out, and this is how we start dealing with things when we start to show gratitude. First of all, no, it was not a comfortable situation, but gratitude because something came out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is where acceptance comes in at. Because you can't, if you don't accept the situation, how can you even heal from it in the first place? Yes, it was uncomfortable, but this is me. This is
Right.
what makes me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my lips are big, but this is me. What? How beautiful are they? Not my hair doesn't need to be blonde and long, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
straight. It doesn't need to be blonde. My hair is beautiful. You know? Yeah, no, my mother was not, I didn't have the best relationship with my mother, but she's my mother. Oh my
Right.
God. And it's not just because, this is what I tell a lot of people. You know, I'm kind of sort of getting out of the fact that, oh, just because she's your mother. No, it's more so the fact that you guys made this contract with one another.
Mm,
She shared her life with you,
right.
right? She made sacrifices for you just for you to be here, even if you're adopted. That mother, that biological, she
Right.
still played a huge part in this, a
Yes.
huge part. Y'all agreed to do this together. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's no life without her. And I think, I think those are the type of things that need to be reiterated and thought about instead of saying, "Oh, that's your mother." Oh, just respect it because that's your mother. You know what I mean? It's so
Right.
much
Right.
deeper than that. And I think some people really need to know the ins and the outs, the whys and why nots, because
Right.
it gives them more of a perspective. It gives them, deeper meaning in their own lives. So, well, wait, you're right. You know what? Yeah. So, and then not only that, so aside from the acceptance and the, just being aware of these things, right? Forgiveness, I can't say enough. Like I said, just I was only speaking on myself. I had
Mm-hmm.
to forgive myself for all the times that I spoke down upon myself, telling myself I wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I remember dropping a spatula, telling myself I'm no good, I'm too clumsy, I'll never be nothing. Repeating what my dad used to tell me, right?
Mm.
that's a whole nother story. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Hmm.
And just, hearing all these things. I remember wanting to help people and people just, oh, just go die. Oh, you always shut up. You know what I mean? Like, but there was something on the other side of that.
Hmm.
And when I saw it for what it really was or what it really is, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgive that person. Of course they didn't know. Of course they did. Thinking that they would actually say that if they knew this, of course they didn't know.
And that's another big piece right there.
Mhm.
I'm not going to stay on it too long, but that's another
Mhm.
big piece right there. Because I was just having this conversation with somebody I was working on yesterday, and I was saying to them that we we all need to grow to that higher frequency where we can understand when somebody does something against us, instead of automatically being upset and about to go to a fight. Sometimes understand and think about it from a godly perspective.
Mhm.
Oh, they've been traumatized too. They probably had something going on. It may have just been a bad day. They might have just got finished fighting with their wife or their spouse. They may have had a real bad upbringing. They might, like as you just said, they might just not know. Period.
Mhm.
They're just not on the same level as you. So you can't judge them
Mhm.
from you. And that's a major thing that we all do. It just kind of comes out naturally. We start judging everybody from ourselves because I expect Mara to already know what I know because I'm in my own mind. I'm thinking you had the same type of parents, the same type of upbringing. If I know it, how don't you know it? That's not reality.
Mhm.
Far from reality is when you judge somebody from yourself, expecting them to have had the same experiences and the same knowledge. Yes, you went to the same school, but the other person's parents may have had to work two jobs to make ends meet. So they
Mhm.
didn't get the parental side of it. There was nobody home pushing them to learn and do this, that, and the other. They pretty much got raised by the TV. But you might have been the person, parents were there and parents was on you. And they was like, you're gonna study this, you're gonna know this. All right, I'm gonna give you a quiz, you're gonna write a paper. Okay, well, you can go ahead outside and play, but you better be in here. Blah blah blah. I mean, a real structured, orderly type life, but everybody doesn't have that. And so I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a big piece of how relationships don't go right. Is we
Mhm.
I'm talking about male, female, male, male, female, female, like friends, whatever the situation is. We start judging from ourselves, holding people to a standard without even really realizing that if they can actually be judged by that standard. Are they anywhere close to it? Did they
Mhm.
have any teachings at all that gave you the right to pull out your ruler
Mhm.
and say, mm-hmm, no, 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 mm-mm,
It
no,
should have been
no.
this many inches.
Right. You know what I mean? And but it causes deep rooted problems when we judge each other like that instead of taking some time and at least sitting back
Mhm.
and saying, okay, mm-hmm, right, and just paying attention, and eventually the person will end up telling you something, especially a person like you, because you'll just read it. And some other people I know that just read it and be
Mhm.
like, oh, see, it's no okay. I don't know how I'm gonna deal with it because it was so disrespectful. It's like if I don't say something or do something, then everybody else gonna take it the wrong way. But he or she is just speaking out of their pain. That's just their pain. That's the
Oh
drama.
my gosh.
That's just the drama. That's it.
That is the part because, and that's what people don't understand about me sometimes, right? Which I am not mad. I'm not mad at the person who underestimates me, right? But I feel people more than I hear them, right?
Wow.
I feel people more than I see them. you know? So a lot of times I know when someone's lying, right?
Hmm.
A lot of
Hmm.
times I know when, you know, oh my gosh, like I remember my sister said something, she yelled at me to hurt me. And she said some pretty gruesome things that day.
Okay.
But I felt her heart. I felt her energy, and all I could do was cry because the pain was just almost unbearable.
Mm.
Like she was
See?
really in pain, but projecting her pain.
See?
And I just
Mm.
chose to keep silent because I was like, how could I go back and forth with her? How could I yell at her back knowing that she truly feels like this, even though she's trying to mask it? You know?
Mm.
I just, yeah.
Ooh, man, you just said something right there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's and that's something that takes some training too. Because
Oh,
like you
wait a
said,
minute.
when you can feel the other person's pain, now you got to train yourself, okay, how do I deal with this? What do I say? Is it going to be better for me to just walk away, or should I speak into it to try to heal it? Is she ready?
hmm
No, I don't
And then
think she's
when you
ready.
say something like, and then when you say something like, it's okay, because you're being genuine, right? You're feeling
Right.
what they feel. You say it's okay. Then they think, oh, is she patronizing me? She's trying to be smart. She said, you know, like, so what can you say? I just left it alone. I didn't, I couldn't.
Hey, sometimes it's best to be silent.
Yes. Oh,
Sometimes it's best to be silent because you know anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of the other person.
because it is the law. Just sharing it.
so, so yeah, sometimes it's better. So you ever walk in, be around an old person sometimes, I'll say an elder, and sometimes you see that they're just always quiet. They've learned
Yes.
that lesson. They've learned that lesson.
That is, whoo, that is a gift. Okay. That that is not just practice. That is a gift. And that's one thing I have, spirit has me on nowadays. Silence is the, it is, it is the top frequency. That
Mhm. Right.
that silence after om, it doesn't get any higher than that. That is literally being one with your true self,
Hmm.
right? That is the top frequency because, mind you, words are frequency, but it's not the ultimate communication, right? When you sit with spirit or with God, mind you, mind you, true spirituality or godliness, right?
Hmm.
Is understanding the oneness.
Absolutely.
We are not separate from each other.
Hmm.
And when we become aware of that, mind you, a lot of us are have a general understanding of it, but not a full understanding of it. So it's like we know, we hear about the oneness. Oh yeah, the oneness. Oh, we only say it because we know it's right, right? However, we don't practice it, we don't use it, we don't even fully understand it. So we go on living our lives like we did yesterday, right? And
Hmm.
so we don't take that into our daily lives, that oneness. What is the oneness? We're not separate. So if I felt you, it was because you are me. It's because you're reflecting me.
Hmm.
I'm
Well,
reflecting you in me, right?
we
So that
all
comes, I'm sorry.
we, I'm sorry. We all forget that we all come from that creator. And every all of his energy is split out, not all of it, but portions of his energy is split out amongst us. That's why we actually are all one, and we all can communicate. That's where telepathy, telekinesis, that's where all that stuff comes from, is because his spark is already in you and it's in everything else. So once you understand that and begin to connect with your spark, you now can connect with everybody else's spark. And that's how we get the, as some people call it, the collective, where we're all able to, at some point, get on this frequency where we could talk to all each other. And like you said, that can be done without lips. That's without saying anything. Because
Mm-hmm.
everybody needs to try this trick. Talk in your
Mm-hmm.
head. Why
Mm-hmm.
can you hear yourself? No, but most of the time we don't think about that part. But you can
Hmm.
literally hear yourself. So
Hmm.
obviously it's not all about this. It's something in the energy that can transmit same
It's
sound, the
not about
same
any
thought.
of this. When you get to the point where you can see somebody with your eyes closed, you know you went to another level.
That's another episode. But I gotta say this, sis. We thank you so much with giving us what you've already given us. But what
Mhm.
else do you have planned? We see all the stuff in the background. So what else is going on? I mean, we got some products coming out, the website coming out. What's happening? Let my audience know what's happening.
I'm gonna be honest with you, this website, oh, I feel like there's a lot of pushback. I've been trying to, like, the thing is, I'm not like everybody else, and I have to keep remembering that and keep reiterating that to myself. And
Hmm.
you know, as much as I want a website, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure at this moment. I'm going to keep working on it.
Hmm.
But if I keep getting pushback, I'm just going to stand still. I'm going to just, put it to the side because um there's a lot of things that I want to do and a lot of things that I don't want to do. And um how do I say this? I don't want to be on the radar.
Mm,
I don't want to, I don't
I
want
can
to be a
understand that.
lawbreaker. I don't want to be, you know what I mean? However, in order to do what I'm able to do, and in order to live out my purpose, I know that I have to depend on myself, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Depend on spirit to guide me
Right.
and not so much of a lot of things outside of me,
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha.
So I'm learning every day. I'm a work in progress. Um,
Well,
but
you did say that you did consultations and stuff like that. How can our people get in contact with you?
Sure. So my email is matamana314. That's MATAMANA 314 at gmail.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is 410-998-1014. That's 1014. Those are also the number and email for PayPal as well as Zelle. And my Cash App is Matamana. Matamana. Is it 314? Matamana 314. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah, my Cash App is
I'll get
Matamana 314.
the information from you, and I'll make sure I put it on the YouTube so people can find it when they watch the episodes. I'm gonna make sure
Hmm.
that's going to be there because it sounds like all of us doing shadow work, doing inner work, being light bearers. We need this. This is where we
Yeah.
got to go to really get ourselves healed up. Was
Hmm.
there something that you really wanted the audience to walk away with before we go?
Yes. I say this with all love. Love yourself. Love yourself. What does that mean? Because we hear it all the time, but we don't know where to start.
Hmm.
Love yourself means to speak to your organs. Love yourself means to look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're worthy. And touch yourself on your breast. It's okay. It's not it's natural, okay? Touch yourself on your butt. Be like, "Oh, you know what? You small, but I like you. Everything's going to be okay. I like how you sit on that chair." You know what I mean? Touch your hair. Be grateful for your hair. There's a lot of us because of media. We don't like our natural coils. It's okay. They're there for a reason. Believe that. Love yourself, right? You are not a mistake. There's nothing about you that is wrong. You were only made to believe, not made. You were convinced to believe that something about you or something in you is wrong. You are not wrong. You are not a mistake. You are so worthy. Love yourself enough to enter or exit. And I'm gonna let you, figure that part out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
also, God speaks to a lot of us. Okay? Start listening to that voice. A lot of people think, oh, my life is bad. Why me? A lot of times we have to accept that we came here for a reason. And sometimes that reason, it ain't always comfortable. It ain't always comfortable. The things that happen along the way within that reason aren't always comfortable. But the more you accept life for what it is instead of what you want it to be, that's a new level. That's a new level. And I promise you, on that level, you're going to love life. You're going to love life. So,
Okay.
um, also, you're not crazy. If you're seeing things from the corner of your eye, if you're hearing a voice, if something is waking you up out of your charge, you are not crazy. Stop thinking you're crazy. Crazy is for people like moi. I am weird and I love every single second of it, okay? Yes, you're not crazy. So I love you and I think you should love you even more. So,
That's a hey. You need to coin that one. You need to coin that phrase. That's a good one right there. That's a
okay.
real good one because we do need to love ourselves, and as we've all heard on more than one occasion, you can't love others if you don't love yourself because it's never going to transfer well. Okay, you about to say something? Go ahead.
I will take it a step further.
Okay.
And I do think this needs to be said. I really do because we are just in this realm of consciousness right now. It's rising, right? And
Right.
we're in the state of truth. We're learning truth, right? And a lot of us are trying to figure out what's going wrong, what's going on, why isn't there any loyalty anymore? I think it's impossible to love someone else. I do. Love is a frequency. Love is not something that you give away, right? Just like peace. I don't think peace is something that you can give someone. Peace comes
Mhm.
from within. How
Right.
the Bible says that God is love, that's
Right.
because, yeah, it's a frequency. Love is a frequency, right? So you can't give someone else God the same way you can't give someone else love. You get what I'm saying? It
I get
comes
you.
from within. People can see you loving yourself, and you can be a shining example, right? Because
Right.
remember, we're reflections. Everybody isn't going to receive that example. Everybody isn't going to see you putting on that lotion on your face or that oil on your face to get beautiful. You know what I mean? Everybody isn't going to see you smiling in the mirror. And some people are going to say, what are you smiling for? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then some people are going to see that love, that mind you, that's a frequency. You can't give it away. You're loving yourself. Even in a relationship, you can kiss someone, you can be truthful with someone. That's intimacy. That's intimacy, right? You can trust someone. You can do all these things with someone. However, in order to truly love someone or be there for someone else, you have to love yourself first.
Right.
And I have news for people. Stop thinking that someone has to be loyal to you. Please. If I'm loyal to myself, how can I be more loyal to you? And I think this is the reason why a lot of relationships are viewed the way they are. I think it's everybody is looking at relationship as a one size fits all. Everybody isn't supposed to be in relationships the same length of time. Everybody isn't supposed to do the same thing in the relationships. Everybody doesn't have the same roles. Everybody doesn't have the same amount of children. Like, let's get real. Let's get real with ourselves. And I think it's an illusion. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's an illusion. That fairy tale stuff. We think, oh man, penis, house, ring, child. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly think that's an illusion that a lot of us have, you know? And so I think it's time to start being real with ourselves. But, getting back to the love thing, once you start loving yourself, that is a frequency, which means you're going to start attracting things that love you. You're going to start attracting things that give you more pleasure and desire and things of that nature. That's a frequency, and it comes from the heart.
Hmm.
It
Okay.
doesn't, yeah.
Well, Miss Myra, we thank you for coming on. It's definitely been a higher frequency type of conversation. I think that there was a lot of things brought out that needed to be said, and a lot of things that we could all learn from. Because remember, people, everything is a process. Everything is process. So you, in your process, give yourself time. Like Miss Myra just said, make sure you love yourself through it and get in that frequency. Because somebody else said that everything is a frequency. So if you want abundance, you have to get on abundance frequency. Not see her.
Hi. Oh, hi.
Hi. Hey, Handsome, how you
That's all
doing?
he wanted to do.
It's
Go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead in your
He
room
had
for
to
a second.
he had to see this higher frequency.
Trees.
Okay, Nasir, go ahead.
Oh.
I don't even remember what I was saying. but yo, that's what I was saying. But we all have to start thinking in terms of that frequency. If you want something, then you have to get on this frequency. Just remember that. If nothing else, remember that. If you want the love, you want the abundance, you want health, get on that frequency, learn it, work with it, because the other part is exactly what Miss Myra said, and that is you have to remember you are an individual. So you're going to have to take the principles and tweak it to yourself, because what
Mhm.
works for me is not going to work for you. And understand that, and don't put yourself in that mindset. Oh man, I bought this book and I'm going to do exactly how he said it and it's going to work. Yeah, but it may not work to the degree that you want it to, because again, you're going to have to understand knowledge of self.
Mhm.
You got to learn yourself and figure out the frequencies of you, and then get on those frequencies and stay there, and then let yourself grow. But don't try to be Myra. That's not, you're gonna hurt yourself if you try to do that. Understand yourself. So we thank everybody for listening. And I thank Miss Myra for coming. It's definitely been a pleasure, a pleasure, a pleasure. So much came out. And I'm just so happy that so many things came out about it. So I thank everybody and I thank Miss Myra, and we'll say peace.
Peace.
Peace, everybody. This is Brother James. We thank you for watching the show, and we pray that it took you to that higher frequency that you were looking for. And we thank you, thank you, thank you. But there's one more thing that we need for you to do. Support us with a like, share, and a comment. And send any ideas for the show to info@houseofhealinglight.com. Peace.